Greetings. I'm very happy to be here tonight. This is such a beautiful room, and this is such a beautiful idea. And I thank the people who have come before me. I want to begin by saying I don't think that war is great fun. And I've just come from the Congo, where I've spent a month. I have spent a great deal of time in the Congo over the last 4.5 years. And I'm today particularly moved, particularly disturbed, and probably because I met with members of parliament today who were really bored and very disinterested in listening to what is going on in the Congo. And that always makes me feel unbelievably angry and unbelievably despaired. But I felt I could come here tonight and talk to you about the Congo, and that gave me energy again. I went to the Congo 4.5 years ago at the bequest of an extraordinary man who I met when I interviewed him for the UN. His name is Dr. Denis Mukwege, and he, as far as I can tell, is one of the great men on this planet. He is a doctor in OBGYN who worked in the Congo, and he worked in the bush, and he served women. And as he was working, he suddenly discovered women were arriving with terrible reproductive disorders and dysfunctions and illnesses and violence and fistula and terrible things that had been done to their body. And what he soon realized was that all these atrocities were being perpetuated by men and being used as a systematic tactic of war. And he literally stayed in the bush for years, sewing up women's vaginas as fast as men were tearing them apart. And at a certain point, his clinic was destroyed and his staff was killed. And he moved then to Bukavu, and he opened up a place called the Panzi Hospital. When I first interviewed him, I didn't really even want to take in what he was saying. I couldn't even absorb the stories he was telling. I've been in many places. V-Day, the movement that Rosie was talking about, has taken me around the world, and I've seen a lot of terrible places and a lot of terrible situations where women have been raped and undone. But the Congo was a completely different landscape, and I knew I had to go there, and I knew I had to at least hear and see firsthand what was happening and see what V-Day could do. And 4 years ago, I went at his invitation, and I spent 2 weeks at the Panzi Hospital in Bukavu, Congo. And I sat with women, and I listened to stories, and it was really an amazing experience because women had never really gotten to tell their stories. And literally, there was a queue around the building of women who just wanted to sit, and they didn't even care how long, just to talk about what had happened to them. And I'm not going to go into all the details of the stories, but the level of atrocities that were being committed against women's bodies, the kind of rapes, the kind of unbelievable violence was utterly shattering. But what was really shattering, and it connects back to BP, and it connects back to all the notions of exploitation, what was really shattering is that this war was being waged in the name of conflict minerals, or minerals. Minerals in the Congo that are valuable to us in the West. Minerals that are cassiterite and tin and coltan and go into our cell phones and computers. And all of those mines in those little villages where the mines were, what was happening was that soldiers were coming and raping the women and destroying the women. And then as a result of that, the communities were being destroyed. When you rape a woman in front of her husband, when you force a husband to rape his daughter, when you force a son to rape his wife, you destroy the community, you destroy the village, you destroy the people. And so as a result, the people flee and the militias take over the mines. I was staggered just thinking about the connections, obviously, how in some way I, as a person who's addicted to my iPhone, am somehow complicit in the raping of women in the Congo. And this kind of intense interconnectedness began to haunt me when I came back. So I knew then that we had to get involved. But like all situations right now on the planet, everything seems so massive and so impossible. And I think sometimes for all of us, we get into this ennui as a result of thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do about BP? How am I not going to use oil? How am I going to be somebody who stops destroying the planet in every single action that I take every single moment of every single day? And I finally realized, no. Do one thing. Do one thing. Just do one thing. So 3 years ago, a group of women, we got together who worked in the Congo, and we thought, what could we do here to change what's happening for the women of the Congo? And we met with a lot of women, and we asked them, what do you need? What do you want? What could change this? And one of the things I haven't told you is when I first went to the Congo, the very first time I went there, after 3 weeks of interviewing women, the women started to dance. and dance and dance and dance. And the last day I was there, they literally, women who could not walk because they had fistula, who could not walk because they no longer had body parts or vaginas or literally danced me up a mountain. And I realized right then that the women of Congo were insanely resilient, insanely generous, and that the future was theirs with just wind behind them. And so we decided to build this place called the City of Joy. And I was in Congo the last month opening the City of Joy. And I want to share this with you tonight because the whole experience of opening City of the Joy has taught me something so precious that if you make a decision, wherever you are, at any moment you are, in the face of the pain that you were witnessing, to go, I'm going to do one thing, just one thing, and with all the intensity of my being and all the intention in my being to shift and change that situation, something remarkable begins to happen. So we began to build City of Joy. And the first thing we decided to do was to invite women to build it. There have never been women construction workers in the Congo. I'm not sure there's a lot here either, for that matter. But we invited women to build it. And women who had no idea how to build the building came and immediately wanted the jobs. So 100 women got hired. And these women became, for me, the kind of milestone or the pathway to what would be City of Joy. And over 2 years they built, and they were so incredible at building and so strong because women in the Congo literally carry 200 pounds on their back daily, that the men were inspired by them and they worked harder. And the whole process moved along in a much more wonderful way. And of course the women danced all day and sang all day, and there was this atmosphere of joy that began the seeds of City of Joy. They eventually finished the City of Joy. And on February 4th, it opened. And what the City of Joy is now is this gorgeous place where 90 women will come and live for 6 months. And all of them are survivors of violence. But they are women who have made a decision to turn their pain to power. And by that, they will study, they will learn literacy skills. Google just donated a tech center so they will learn the computer. They will have agricultural training. They will have rights training. There's a radio station. There's a whole world of healing, both in therapy and dance and theater. And it's a community now where women actually can have a headquarters for the revolution. The day of the opening, there were 3,000 women and people who came from all over Bukavu and the southern Kivus, and 90 people came from all over the world to celebrate. But the thing that moved me most that day were the women builders. And when they arrived at the gathering, they all arrived with cement bricks that they carried. And through the whole ceremony, every time there was music, they danced with the bricks over their head as a way of saying that this was their victory. They had built this place. And 4 days ago in the Congo, there was an interview, and one of the women who had built the City of Joy said, I'd like to speak on the radio. And she said, I am one of the first graduates of City of Joy. I didn't go to the City of Joy, but I built the City of Joy. And when I began this journey, I couldn't look up. I always looked down because I had no self-esteem. After I was raped, I felt diminished. I was made into nothing. And I was even further lower down on the ground because my family exiled me and they threw me out and they wouldn't welcome me any longer and I had no place to go. When I got the offer to build the City of Joy, I didn't believe I had a right to build the City of Joy because I hadn't done anything like that. But you believed in me and you had faith in me and you had trust in me. And so I began to build the City of Joy. And now I walk through the village and I am somebody. And now I know I have a right to lift my head. And I am now a leader in my community. And I thought to myself, we haven't even opened the City of Joy yet. And now we have a person who actually believes they have a right to walk in the world. And I tell you about the City of Joy, and I tell you about the Women of Congo, because for me, I've basically given up the last 4 years of my life. When you see atrocities that are being committed on people's bodies in the world at this point in our lives, when you see women who have been wrecked at 8 months old, at 8 years old, at 80-year-olds, who have had their legs ripped over their heads or their insides totally destroyed so they are no longer continent and can't hold their pee or their poop. When you see these incredible violences committed on the bodies of women, what you know is if we don't stop it, it will spread and it will become systematic and it will be allowed and legitimized everywhere. And what I know being in the Congo is that Congo is the heart of Africa. And Africa is the heart of the world, and women are at the heart of the heart. And if we allow that heart to be destroyed, and if we allow that force to be eradicated, what fuels the blood into the system of the rest of the world will be annihilated. So I just urge you, and I'm just saying here tonight, to open your eyes and think and be connected to the women of the Congo in one way or another, to the people of the Congo, to the people in your neighborhoods, to the people next to you, but really to think how everything we do now impacts people in the way we live our lives, and how much we take that we don't need or how much we use that we don't need. And I'm really deeply grateful that you let me share this with you tonight. Thank you very much.